That's out of tune. Okay. So I was gonna... Oh, I feel like that's far too far away. Let's boost that volume a little bit. How big do my wibblies look now? Alright. So yeah, I've got things I've played, and I figured I might as well share my thoughts. And I had like loads of notes and shit, because I was gonna try and do something like what I send in to like RPG is, and I'm just not really feeling it. So I was gonna... It's kind of gonna do like... Because it's gonna just leave a thing for Bill and Frost for when eventually they play Earthbound, which will be in time with Super Switch Club. So I've got like most of a year, so there's no rush. But I thought I would actually share it because it's in my head, and it feels like it's been ages since I played Earthbound. Also, we're going to talk about Katamari, because I recently played and finished the first two Katamari games. Well, the remasters of them. It will be relevant later. And I figured I might as well twiddle and riddle, because it's fun. So there's not going to be any story spoilers, because that's not my style. That feels a bit mean. Wouldn't want to put you off. Plus, if you really wanted to know the stories of these things, other people will approach them better than I ever could. And also, I mean, if you listen to, like, the way I analyze stuff anyway, I'm more of a game feel person anyway. I'm more about vibes. So let's... God, it's been 3 minutes of... 3 minutes of me being a little twat. So, what is there to say about Earthbound? Is it something about how the gameplay is fundamentally a bit Dragon Quest? In fact, that's kind of what put me off not Dragon Quest. It's what put me off Earthbound a good 10 or so years ago? No, more than that. God. It's the early days of when you'd get SNES 9X on your Windows XP. I don't know. I don't actually... I might not have been at university yet, so we might be talking 15 years ago. This might have been on the old John Lewis bought absolute bag of shit computer. Right. So what Earthbound has going for it are vibes. Fundamentally speaking, it's like any other turn-based JRPG, with a few tweaks. What it really provides you with is not even a world to explore, but a journey to inhabit. Yeah, it's a bit more of a journey. So you go around playing as Ness, or whatever you call him, and you go from place to place, just exploring all these areas. The main plot is hanging there, but you don't really encounter much of it for most of the game. More than a single tale or epic, it's a game about games. It's about how that you, as the player, interact with the characters within a character-based JRPG sort of situation. It's all nebulous, it's difficult to really define genres anymore. Just in general, weird shit happens in this world. It's very charming in its own way, but you kind of have to not expect anything that's particularly serious until it gets serious. It's like Adventure Time. It's one of those things where it's whimsical on the surface, but there's a certain darkness underneath. You can tell that they have really thought about how fundamentally silly it is within a Dragon Quest sort of scenario. You've got a chosen one, but they've not really got a character to them. They're just a format for you to imprint your own emotions onto. The vague threat of the universal threat is vague, if we're completely honest about it all. On paper, there's just not a lot that would really hold you together in win this game if you'd already played a Final Fantasy or similar, but it's just that much of a different experience as you go through all these areas and you get closer and closer to these characters who are barely characters at all. It's more a game that plays with your emotions in a way which would feel manipulative in a modern context, but in this case feels like it's sincere. In particular, the very end of the game, which is a very famous ending to a game. It's just... I don't know, I have to really recommend it as a game that you play once and you experience, and you've got to come into it not expecting... You can't go in expecting an action time, obviously, it's a turn-based JRPG, but you can't go in expecting the ridiculous melodrama of the likes of a Final Fantasy, because, let's be completely honest, if you try to release Final Fantasy as a novel, I'm specifically thinking of the SNES period, it would come off incredibly silly. But yeah, I'm not really sure. Like I say, it's got its own unique look, it's got its own unique feel, it's got a lot of character to it, the way it describes everything to you, the way that the status effects are all different than they are in other games. The way that the magic system works actually, like, while being fundamentally the same as so many other games, it has a good feel to it. So I guess that's kind of my recommendation to you. I think my actual written review is somewhere on the RPG Years Discord, and if you wanted more details, you could go into that. But realizing now that I just don't have... No, I'm further away from it, I've got less to say about it. It's like an event in your life that you can grasp onto individual memories of, but I can't see it necessarily being a beloved multiple playthrough sort of game unless you grew up with it. But I do think it's genuinely a game which you have to try to experience, and I understand if you can't get on with it. Poor Elise at Super Switch Club. It's like the least Elise game I could think of. But yeah, that's kind of what I've got for it, honestly. It's just a recommendation. I think there's more you can say if you have a better way with words, but at this moment I find words are failing me, and that kind of thing. It's a real early example of a game playing with the relationship between the player and the character. I guess that's the main thing I can say about it. You can say things about how life ticks down on a timer instead of instant. But, like, that's kind of cool and all, but it's quite minor stuff against how this game fundamentally makes you feel things. It manages to do so with such a brief, no details plot. And I think that's my thoughts on Earthbound. I think you should play it. Christ. Tell I don't play much anymore. I want to see me struggle around with my thoughts on Katamari. So the thing about Katamari Damacy is that it's a fundamental kind of game all in itself. It is its own genre. There is no game like Katamari, and there are loads of them. I'm only going to focus on 3 of them at this moment in time, and you'll see why. So we recently re-picked up and finished the remaster of the first Katamari, which is Katamari Reroll, available on Switch and probably other places as well, but I played it on Switch. Fuck, that chord went wrong. Yeah, it's a good game. You roll shit up. It's part puzzle, part action. It's kind of a lot of different things that you want, and most importantly, it's fun and silly and doesn't take itself seriously, and, don't fucking pay attention to the plot, because the plot is fucking stupid. This particular remaster, it does the game completely as it was. I've been told there are quality of life enhancements, but for the life of me, I can't find them. It's just sort of the PS2 game, but again, and that's fine on its own. It's a bit frustrating at times. There's things that the prince just can't do in this, and you can't change to the cousins that you unlock. They're only there for the specific 2-player versions, which you're not going to get around to doing. But that's where the sequel comes in. I can't fucking remember the name of the remaster for the sequel. It's got like Royal Reverie in the title. That's also on Switch. It's pretty good though. It's more forgiving with how you move around. There are more challenges. Every challenge comes with one or two variants on it, whether that's just do it within, get as big as you can within a certain time, or how quickly can you get it to a certain size. And fundamentally, like, that's a very good thing to do with Katamari, is to take levels, remix them, and do new ideas with them. It's still got some challenges which can, like, while fundamentally, like, beloved parts of the game are a bit, like, oh my god. Fuck, that sounds weird, doesn't it? So yeah, you'd think that would be where it was. And that if you are playing on a modern platform, the remake of We Love Katamari, the second game, feels fundamentally like the way to go. It's a more forgiving game, and you can actually play as the cousins and so on. There's just more there, you know? It feels like there's more to going and finding the outfits and finding the characters and playing through the various versions of the challenges. Like, fundamentally, like, more interesting game, you know? But there's a catch. If you have access to a PlayStation 3 at the very least, although I suspect there must have been an Xbox version, because it was definitely a generation where almost everything came out on every console. But Katamari Forever is a game that looks better than the remasters, plays better than the remasters, and has a few fundamental changes which make the game significantly better. The first of which, and possibly the only one I'm going to talk about of which, is a jump. The prince can jump. If you get stuck somewhere, you can just jump. And you can jump out of these situations and get up to tar to get places and get the things that you want to get. Amazing! And that's my thoughts on Katamari. It's a good game to play. There's no game which plays like these games, and fundamentally you can get any of them, and you can have a good time, and you can get an idea of what this game is about. And the fact of the matter is that when it goes on sale, it really goes on sale. There's a very small barrier to entry to what are, like, very fun games and really different games, and that's kind of a thing which feels like it's missing. Namco don't make a lot of interesting games anymore. You know, I'm on their mailing list, guys. It is all anime tie-ins. It's all anime tie-ins or Tekken. That's what they do. That's all they do now. Anime tie-ins and Tekken. And sometimes you get something related. You get something related to God Eater, which in itself is just a anime tie-in. Basically, it feels like how it plays. Oh, I love God Eater. It's good. But you know, they're a publisher now more than anything else. You don't get. Oh, I mean, I guess they retouch old stuff. You know, like I said, they re-release all the Katamari games, which were really experimental and were a massive risk, and the people at Namco didn't want to make them, as in the higher ups there didn't think it was a good investment. They literally got, like, their students to work on all the assets for it because that was cheaper. You know? And that's the thing, they're re-releasing these. They're re-releasing things like Pac-Man World. But I don't know. And you see it elsewhere with the likes of Konami. What games are there that people are getting excited about with Konami? They're either repackaged collections of older games, which is fine. I'm happy for that to happen. I want more of that, please. Yes. But, like, what new games are they doing? As far as I'm aware, the big new ticket for Konami is the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, which I'm sure will be fantastic. Because Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, really good game. But, like, fundamentally, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, it feels fundamentally like not even a sequel to anything. Not even, I don't know. It's all remakes and remasters. Is this like, when people said that rock and roll was dead because everything being released was CD versions of old records or greatest hits? Is this where we're at now? And I mean, isn't that surprising? I'm literally the guy that plays. Yeah, I pretty much exclusively play retro games. The next thing I'm going to be talking about eventually, when I finish it, is going to be Mega Man Legends, isn't it? I don't know how much I've got to say about that. I think I've got everything written that I'd want to write. And I don't know if this way of talking about it really would do it justice, but like, I don't have anywhere to put a written review. Maybe I should get my WordPress back up again. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. So let me know what you think. And I'll probably not get back to you. Unless you happen to be on the AOLP Discord. Or we can make this work probably. Those are the places you'll find me anyway. I don't even bother with social media anymore. I'm shite at it. And that's the way we are. See you later. Bugger. Can't get the fucking button. Oh, there's a fucking...